Hey guys, this is Zero here again with another vlog review for the Hunter movie Oath. I'm actually going to be covering 4 movies in this one video, so that will bring my total up to 5 seen. I know it's kind of a cop-out to do 4 movies in one, but it's all of a series that I watch literally day after day after day. I want to talk about the Evil Dead series. I've seen all 4 movies. I was at my buddy Blonde Guy Gamer's house. He's a huge fan of the Evil Dead series. If you want to see his game reviews on the Evil Dead video games, I'll leave links down in the description where you can see those, and I recommend them. They're very good, especially if you like the Evil Dead series. But anyways, let's get on to the movies. So I watched these in order with Blondie at his house. So the first one, The Evil Dead. Very, very good, creepy horror movie. Made pretty much around the same time as Halloween was made. I think Halloween came out first, or slightly before it. Let's see, what does this say? This says 1978, and I think Evil Dead came out in 81, but they started filming Evil Dead in like 78. So by the time this movie was out, they had started filming it. So, and it's a movie that spans from the end of the 70s into the early 80s. It originally went under the title The Book of the Dead, but I guess over time they changed it to The Evil Dead. It's a very good, creepy movie. If you like seeing, like, you know, if you like occult stuff and, like, devil worship and stuff like that, not so much devil worship, but, like, summoning demons and whatnot and possession, this is really the movie for you. It really corners around Deadites, which are, I guess, a type of possessed, are a type of being that possesses humans and turn the humans into, like, evil beings, sort of like demons almost. And it's really creepy and really cool. It's got a lot of great scenes in it, and it just works as a really creepy movie. Now, it legitimately made me jump a couple times, even though I saw the jump scares coming. Like, I could tell they were coming. Like, there's one, it's just the way the timing works that made me jump, because I'm like, when's it gonna come? When's it gonna come? Ha! So it legitimately gave a scare. Like, if not a scare, at least a jump scare, which a lot of movies try to get away with these days and fail at. I legitimately thought it was a really good movie. It introduced characters. With one exception, the guy who played Scott was probably the worst actor I've seen in a horror movie yet. Like, oh my god, like, people complain about Troy and Power Rangers Megaforce and Super Megaforce. This guy who played Scott just takes the cake for, like, completely off beat for most of the movie. Even when he's, like, dying, I'm just like, he's in a dead state, I'm just like, could you give us a little more emotion, please? Like, that's what I feel like. It's like, his emotions completely offbeat, and it's funny, but this movie really deals with your psyche for these characters. And the movie, that's the one thing about this movie. This movie really lacks in character development. And the point is, it doesn't really need character development. It introduces the characters, you know their roles, and that's about it. And at the end of it, I thought it was a really good movie. Not the best horror movie, but I think it's up there in and it's well deserving of being named a classic. Evil Dead 2 is a mix of creepy and going full campy, it is a direct sequel to the first movie. Regardless, I know that it sort of is a remake in some senses, but it really isn't. It's really they retell the story from the first movie in the first 5 minutes. If you ignore those first 5 minutes, it still makes sense following up the other movies. So it's not a remake per se, it's a direct sequel. So I know that was, like, kind of hard to understand, but it's still considered a sequel because it takes place after the first night of this whole thing. It actually takes place right at the end, where Ash, by the way, I have to mention Bruce Campbell, fantastic actor in these movies. You can see him, he gets better over time. And this movie takes place right after the first one, where the first movie actually ends, spoiler alert, zoomed in on Ash's face and the screen goes black. Well, just like my computer screen did right there. The movie continues from that, where you see him basically being like being hit against a tree and whatnot, and the movie takes on from there. By the way, the camera work in these movies are fan-freaking-tastic. It's if you like movies and you make videos or you want to make movies, this movie has great camera angles, and it really benefits the movie with the whole creepiness and whatnot. Anyways, getting back to Evil Dead 2, they had a little bit more budget. They could do a little bit more with it. You could see a little bit more things getting possessed, like I think the deer head on the wall gets possessed. Like the entire house, the cabin that he's in gets possessed. And this is where Ash starts like going a little nutso. Like he starts playing it up. I mean, everybody knows, like, this is a spoiler, his hand gets possessed and he has to cut his hand off. I think it's his right hand. And then eventually it introduces characters. It has a little bit of backstory, because in the first movie they have the tape recorder and they're listening to the person who's reading about the Book of the Dead. And this time, the daughter of the person who's doing the research, who's also doing research, has found more pages of the Book of the Dead. Again, spoiler alerts, in the first movie, the Book of the Dead gets burned. It's gone. But for some reason, the movie ends with that cliffhanger of the Evil Dead, I guess, still being there. And my thought is because there are still pages of the book out there, so it's not completely gone. So they get, what they have to do is they get the pages. They have to read a passage from it, and so they can send all the evil back to where it came from, which is back actually in the past. So unfortunately, Ash sort of gets taken in with them, and it sets up the next movie. By the way, Ash, this movie has has a lot of good lines in it. The next movie has even more, but we'll get to that. And Ash replaces his cut-off hand with a chainsaw that he rigs up to fit in his hand, and he has the shotgun, and that's where he says his iconic line of, "Groovy." I can't do it as good as Bruce Campbell, but it really that really amps things up for the character. Like you see Ash being badass, and I think that's really cool. So yeah, that movie, he's basically taking on the Deadites, and eventually it ends with it adds more psyche to it too. Like it's campy, but it does the same things that the first movie did in terms of being psychological. That it really is like the better film, but it's better for its different reasons. Like the first movie, again, is very creepy and very horror related, while the second movie tries to hand that up a little bit, and that's totally fine. And so anyways, the movie ends, he goes back to the past in medieval times, and he gets and the movie ends with Ash being discovered by a bunch of medieval soldiers. And him screaming, I forget what he screams, he's like, "No!" Or he's like, "No! No! No! No!" Because they're all acting like he's a potential god. And then that starts the third movie, Army of Darkness. And the creepiness at this point is pretty much gone. It's all hammy. It's all cheesy now. And I love cheese. So personally, I think Army of Darkness is my favorite of the Evil Dead movies. And it does a really good job at doing that. It takes place again in the Middle Ages, and where the Book of the Dead first came from. They play up Ash's character a lot, and at first I was like, that's a little awkward compared to the last two movies, but in the second movie he pretty much goes insane at one point, and now it feels like he's just tired of this bullshit and he wants to go home and he wants to stay far away from, all this evil Deadite stuff. So he's probably just tired. He's pissed off, he wants to go home, he can't get home, he has to do a bunch of crap he doesn't want to do, and that's where the whole movie comes from. Lots of good special effects in all the movies, by the way, all practical effects. This one really is a high watermark for the practical effects, and there was a making of that we watched. We watched making ofs of all these. DVDs because Blondie had them. But the stuff that they had to do the Deadite skeletons, oh my god, like the amount of work that they had to do. You don't see effects like that anymore, unfortunately. But we'll get to that in a moment, actually talking. There's an exception to that rule. But it's just really, really, like, it's really well done. And there's a big battle between the Deadites and the medieval people and Ash, led by Ash. And it gave me a very Lord of the Rings battle at Helm's Deep feel. Even though, of course, Lord of the Rings came out later, but it made me feel like maybe Peter Jackson was inspired by Evil Dead when he was making his own movie, because he has a movie called Dead Alive, or whatever, and it's like a bloodbath. So, and the Evil Dead movies have quite a bit of blood in them, and I think that maybe Peter Jackson saw it and he's like, I can do that, but with more blood. So, and of course, the Helm's Deep battle kind of feels like a lot of the things from Helm's Deep were taken from this movie, and that's really what's great about it. It's an adventure film, it's a horror movie, it's an action thriller, it's got a big war against Deadite skeletons and like medieval people. It's a great film, and I really enjoyed it. That's why it's my personal favorite of the series. And, of course, it's cheesy as all hell. So, with lines like, give me some sugar, baby. Good, evil, I'm the one with the shotgun. Of course, just so many great lines from that movie. That's why it's my personal favorite. And I can see why a lot of fans say it's their personal favorite. So, so the last one we watched was the Evil Dead remake, just called Evil Dead. The first movie is called The Evil Dead. The second one's called Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and now Evil Dead. So, it's not, I don't know if it's so much a remake, but it feels more like a continuation of the story, because there's a lot of little things in it. First of all, the biggest thing that, I'm going to get this out of the way now, because a lot of fans this is one of the reasons why some fans don't like it. Ash is not in the movie. Actually, he is in the movie, but he doesn't have any bearing on the plot, and we don't see him till the very, very end. So, Ash is technically in the movie, he's just has no bearing on the plot this time. And you know what? That's fine. Having the character of Ash is not a necessity for doing the movie. So, and of course, Bruce Campbell is one of the producers, and one of the things they talk about is, they were like, if they get somebody else to play Ash, it can't really be done. Like, it's, and Bruce Campbell didn't really want to do it again, I guess, I don't know. So what they did is they brought all new characters into it, but with the same stuff. And this is one of those horror remakes or sequels or whatever that's really good. It's really good. It's got a lot of good effects. It goes back to the creepiness of the first movie. Really, really, like, it really goes back to that. It doesn't continue on from that or anything. It just really goes back to that. It doesn't take the campiness. Like, the campiness at this point is gone. Yeah, there's campy lines in the movie, but that's really just because of how the characters work. The new hero, Mia, basically, she's a very complex character. She's a drug addict. Her and her friends are here at this cabin to help her, basically, to stop her from taking drugs. I don't know if she does angel dust or whatever. I don't know. But at the start, she pours down white powder, cocaine, whatever. And she's basically going through withdrawal. And not helped, one of her friends who's there is like a teacher, and he's a little nerdy. He decides, let's read this Book of the Dead that we found in the basement with a bunch of witchcraft stuff, because nothing bad could happen. And of course, that's where everything happens. And it takes the characters a long time to believe her, because they think this is just her going into, like, withdrawal from having drugs. So they don't believe her at first. They don't believe her that there's something out there that's alive and taking over. And this movie does a lot of it follows the rules of the Book of the Dead, and it actually does interesting things with it, which I think is really cool. Of course, we finally get to see, like, I guess, the King of Deadites, or the super demon that gets summoned from the book, and we get to see Mia fight it, and I think it's really cool. By the way, this movie has a fake-out ending. And I think it's really well done. It's honestly, like, I want to say, I think it's even better than the first movie. All great actors, really great effects. It keeps that creepy atmosphere that the first movie had, and just turbocharges everything. It's one of the horror remakes that should be seen. And with horror remakes out there, like the Friday the 13th one and the Nightmare on Elm Street one, which they're not good. They're not good at all. And with the Halloween remake being one of the few good ones, this also sort of sits in there as a good horror remake, even though it's kind of a sequel at the same time. Which makes sense because the Halloween remake is kind of a prequel at the same time as being a remake. So it's like a pre-make, and this one's like a requel, I guess. I don't know. Because you have to make weird words like that. But I think it's a really good movie. It's personally probably my second favorite of the Evil Dead movies. It generally feels creepy. And it takes a lot of the tropes from the first and second movie, and even Army of Darkness, and applies them, but does them in such a great way. If you haven't seen the Evil Dead movies, definitely check them out. Again, the first one's really great because it's really creepy and it sort of has that classic feel. The second one boosts the creepy and the campy. The third one just goes for cheese and has a fun action horror movie. And of course, the fourth one, the remake, just goes back to basics and makes a really creepy, really great follow-up to the series. And they're great movies. I'm glad I got to watch them. I watched all the special features with Blondie as well, so I got to do that too. Really, really great movies. I can't recommend them enough if you've never seen them. It's a franchise you will have to see, and I recommend all of the movies. And don't let the negative feedback that people say about remakes, oh no, horror remake, they're always bad. But it's really good. They're all really good movies, and I recommend all of them if you've never seen them. So, anyway, sorry for this long review, because that's 4 movie reviews in one. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you with another one of these vloggy type reviews for my 100 movie oath. 5 down, 95 to go. See you next time, guys.